Welcome back. Now to the last Tuesday in January 1986. Americans were expecting to hear their president, Ronald Reagan, that night. He was due to deliver his 6th State of the Union address. But by midday, that would change.
Join Tom and Tier now. Once again, just getting down to about 3 minutes, and they think they can do it.
They are counting. The ice is cleared away, and Challenger should be going away very soon.
I think I had covered every shuttle mission since the 4th or the 5th. This one was different because it was colder in Florida than any other time they'd attempted to launch a shuttle. It was a concern that morning.
But the highlight on this mission is the including in the flight of Christa McAuliffe, a 37-year-old high school social studies teacher from Concord, New Hampshire.
I think the biggest difference of Challenger was that they were taking a teacher on board.
America's first teacher in space has become one of the most talked about missions in the shuttle program.
There was no question that this launch had taken on a whole different aura. This was a true civilian going into space, and it was Christa McAuliffe, and she was full of energy and life. She was perfect. You just couldn't have picked anybody better.
Coming up on the 1 minute point in our countdown.
Steve Sonnenbluck, my cameraman, and the sound tech were up on a mound, which was kind of a photo mound, and he was shooting the launch off of that.
At the time that I looked up, there was nobody even watching. All of the networks were represented, but none of them were doing their jobs. It was sort of like, well, we're here. It had become that commonplace, launches one right after another, that nobody really paid a whole lot of attention. But our job was to photograph it, and we photographed it.
All of a sudden, there was this big cloud that kind of engulfed the spaceship. People began to realize, well, something's wrong here, because the vehicle never came out from behind the cloud. And I said, Steve, I said, what the hell happened? And he looks, and he has his hand up to the eyepiece. He looks away from his eyepiece. He looks at me and he says, the blanking thing blew up.
Looks like a couple of the solid rocket boosters blew away from the side of the shuttle in an explosion.
It was my worst nightmare come true. What I was suppressing in my mind was, oh my God, oh my God.
We're awaiting word. They're holding their breath just, I'm sure, as everyone else is. You saw it just a few moments ago, about 45 seconds after liftoff, a huge fireball in the sky.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that.
To see that image as it was happening,
with the recovery forces,
the shuttle was gone. We watched it, falling into the ocean.
Let's take another look now, just seconds into the launch.
There was a film crew that we had gotten from WTBS to shoot a promo. They were shooting when the shuttle exploded. And so they then shifted their attention to what was going on in the newsroom.
Dick Scobee is first. We'll do obits over singles. Dick Scobee.
Don't think
all of a sudden it goes beyond day-to-day news coverage. People just converge to the newsroom and start working.
Now, are there any satellite trucks in that area?
Zarella's on the phone right there.
As soon as I called in, you could hear in the background this absolute chaos on CNN's end as well, with people scrambling.
Stand by to voice over this picture. Shut up in here! Open their mics.
It occurred at 9 miles into the mission downrange.
Challenger, go at throttle.
We went out 6.5 hours without breaking for commercial or for local cable break. We were nonstop.
You could see right before the explosion at the external tank where it attaches to the shuttle, a flame appeared to break out.
This is a tough one to do because you've got a limited number of elements. I mean, you've got the liftoff and the explosion.
You plug continuing live coverage, the NASA news conference at 3:30 live.
Bob Fernand is an amazing producer, and it was his job to arrange how this was all going to fit together so it would come out through the television set in some comprehensible manner.
We're going to do 7 silent, 6 natural sound, and then the group Ada.
You have to tell it in a comprehensible way, but you also have to tell it so that it's compelling.
This is raw, unedited video, just sent via satellite.
Christa McAuliffe was a teacher that was on the shuttle, and her parents were at the Cape watching the liftoff, and there was not a live camera, but a tape camera shooting them. There was almost a hesitation on my part. And then when I saw it, I knew it was the right thing to do.
You see concern etched on their faces, the breath that they've been holding released, and then the realization sets in that something is wrong.
The images of the horror on these people's faces, so strong. And it really shocked me as I watched the images being transmitted to the rest of the world of families reacting to losing their loved ones. It was an important picture. It's unfortunate that we had it, but we had it and we used it.
It now appears that there are no survivors from Space Shuttle Challenger, the 25th mission.
As a journalist, it was probably the saddest moment of my life, watching this happen before my eyes and having to tell the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd planned to speak to you tonight to report on the State of the Union. But the events of earlier today have led me to change those plans. Today is a day for mourning and remembering. Nancy and I are pained to the core by the tragedy of the Shuttle Challenger. We know we share this pain with all of the people of our country. This is truly a national loss. The crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger honored us for the manner in which they lived their lives. We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them this morning, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God. Thank you.